رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. I very humbly welcome all of you to today's session surrounding the topic, a Muslimah social media rulebook. So, and I'm hoping and believing that everyone who has joined the session today are those who want to learn how to use social media as a responsible Muslimah. So, with that being said, I'm sure that we have participants from different backgrounds today, from different age groups, as youngsters, elders, and maybe kids as well. Because given the rapid use of social media, we can also be expecting kids into this session. All right. So, however, I'm sure that we're all excited to kickstart today's workshop, today's webinar. But before that, there are a few things that I want to enlighten you all on. So after discussing few aspects, few things about the organization that is bringing this particular workshop to you, we will dive into the content. All right. So moving forward, it's about Ilmbook. Now, Ilmbook, as you may know, I would like to take this opportunity to thank Ilmbook for all the service that they have been doing for the past couple of years. Because the main objective of Ilmbook has always been to inspire growth and nurture success. So if you look at Ilmbook closely, we bring professionals and scholars together to offer insightful learning and guidance across key areas of life. So if you look at closely at the slide that is shared, we focus on topics such as spiritual enrichment, self-development, marriage, youth, and as well as parenting. So just like today, there are different ways in which we bring different courses to you, either through online as well as on-site. So weekly and monthly, we have different webinars, different courses and different lectures, free or maybe paid as well, conducted by Ilmbook itself. So I pray that Allah Azza wa Jal place more and more barakah in this journey of Ilmbook. So with that being said, moving forward, I would like to give a disclaimer that I, as the instructor today, I take responsibility for every opinion and for everything, every insight that I may share with you. Because the Ilmbook, even though it is an organization that is facilitating this workshop, they may not be responsible for anything that is being shared by the instructor itself, because this is an independent workshop that is being done by the instructor, which is me, inshallah. So yes, that was a pretty much short disclaimer that I wanted to give you. And then moving forward, there are a few guidelines that we need to follow during the course of this session. And it is that I encourage all of you to be very much engaging and interacting throughout the session, because there are many ways in which you can interact with the instructor. You can either choose to unmute and speak up, or maybe if you all have any questions, please feel free to drop it in the chat box. And also, I encourage all of you to be respectful and polite while you're interacting with one another in the chat box. I may not have a constant check on the chat box, so please feel free to share your opinions and insights with one another as to what you think about the session and what are the doubts you have or anything that may hit your mind at that moment. Okay, so following the session, we would be having this session for 45 minutes, following which we will be having a Q&A session towards the end of the program for 15 minutes, right? I hope that it's clear. If it is all clear, can you all hit the thumbs up button? It's a bit of the, it's a bit about the instructor. So I'm the instructor and I'm a fresh law graduate advocating for social justice, and as well as a student in psychology. And I am currently working as a researcher and as well as a legal advisory intern. And also a fun fact about me would be that I love to play with sand. So yes. Now you all must be wondering where the session is heading, right? We are getting to the point slowly. Yes, there we go. Moving forward. The most awaited moment. Yes, a Muslimah social media rule book. Now, before we speak anything about social media, may I know how many of you are social media users here? It cannot be possible that we don't have any social media users, but if we have any, please, yes, everybody? And the rest of others, you all are not on social media, is it? Yes, it could be. Like we could also be having a set of people who are not on social media, who do not have social media accounts. That could be possible. So I would like to emphasize on the fact that regardless of whether you're a social media user or not a social media user, I would still encourage you to be a part of this workshop, because whatever the learnings that you may take away from this particular workshop, you may share it with people who could benefit from it. Like, even though you may not be a social media user, you could be having friends who are into social media, or you could be having siblings who are into social media, or even parents who are into social media. It could be the other way around. So make sure that you take something out of this workshop and enlighten them on whatever that you take away from this. All right. Okay. So I already asked you a question, but there are two more questions coming up. Not questions per se. First is an activity, right? I want all of you to take your mobile phones and log in to the social media app that you use the most in your daily life. Take your mobile phones and log into the apps that you all use the most. And once you all are done, drop a thumbs up. Let me give you all a minute of time for this. It could be Instagram, it could be Facebook, it could be Twitter, or anything, whatever you name it. Feel free to unmute and speak as well, please. Let this be a very interactive session, because I'm sure that is a very crucial topic to be discussed.
Yes.
Yes, thank you so much, Sister Asia. I suppose it was you. Okay, all right then. Now the question is, I'm assuming that you all have all logged into your social media accounts. At this juncture, I don't want you to answer this question to me, but answer it to yourself, okay? Imagine for a moment that you're standing in front of Allah. At this point, do you think that you can confidently show your social media account without any fear or without any guilt to Allah just the way it is? Without removing any content or without adding any content to your socials, are you in a position to show it to Allah just the way it is? Think about it. Take a minute to think about it and reflect on your own personal socials. All right. Yes. And moving forward with that, keep your socials as it is, because there are many practical activities that we have to do throughout the course. So keep it open. But with that, moving forward, the next question to you all. Now, I want one person to answer this question. Okay. Whoever raises their hands first, I would be picking that person. What is social media to you? How do you perceive social media? Is it a tool? Is it an app? Or what is it? Data from which we gain knowledge. Okay. Someone else as well, maybe? Yes, it's an app. There you go. All right. So social media is something that we view as an app, as a tool, or something that is external in our lives. Okay. But if I were to take you back to 2009, okay, let me know if you all had more privileges than me, but in 2009, I remember there were like internet cafes where we were able to access Google or maybe even Skype. So for that, like these internet cafes, especially in the area that I come from, they were only open in weekends. Okay, and we had to stay in queues until one person was done with their allocated time, and then we go forward. So in those times, maybe social media could have been viewed as a mere app. But in comparison to 2009, look at 2024. Social media is not just an app. It is rather, what if I told you that it is the current society that we are a part of? It is the current society that we are living in. Because back in the time, if you think about the outside world, if you think about the society, like of course, the standard definition of the society includes the family as the basic unit. But most often, we tend to think about the outside world as a society. Maybe your friends, maybe it could be your colleagues, or maybe your maybe different professionals like doctors, lawyers. So these are the people that you interact with in a society. But now look at social media. Social media is the current society where you have access to all these people. In fact, we have invited the outside world to our personal lives through the fingertips. The outside world has access to us through our fingertips, and we have access to the outside world through our fingertips. It goes both ways, right? The reason why I'm emphasizing this is because people are duped by the misconception that social media is just an app. Therefore, their real life characters is so much different from their social media characters. The individuals who exercise principles, ethics, values, and everything are the same individual who forget all their principles the moment that they get into social media, because they think that they're anonymous and nobody knows them. But this is the reason why I'm emphasizing that there is no difference between the real world and your social world. So social media has now turned into the current society that we are all a part of and which we have willingly signed up for. Okay, so keeping that in mind, we'll move forward to understand few more concepts about social media. Okay, so here we have three different types of users on social media. The people who use social media with a purpose, the people who use social media for haram entertainment. And third is the category, the people who use social media for halal entertainment. Maybe you could be people who maybe watch cat videos at midnight, 3 a.m., right? So these are the halal entertainment crew. There is nothing bad that you do out of social media, and there is nothing good that you do out of social media either. You don't fall into either of this category, but however, this is the category that we have to focus on the most, because majority of the social media are into this halal entertainment, doom scrolling. There is no watch on the time management. So about this topic, I will touch upon it during the latter part of the presentation. But initially, we will be talking about the crowd that uses social media with a purpose and the crowd that uses social media for haram entertainment. Okay? But the people who use social media with a purpose are the people you may have seen on social media, like maybe on Instagram or Facebook. These set of people, they have businesses on social media, or they constantly watch what do you call skill development videos. They are trying to gain something from social media constantly, or trying to give back on social media. Something, whatever they learn, they put it out there on social media. Even if it is a new skill that they learn, they put it out there. And if it is a positive note, they put it up there. So these are the people who target social media as a tool or as an app from which they can do something good to the society that they are a part of, right? And second is the category that uses social media for haram entertainment. Now, think about the people. Now, when we speak about haram entertainment, what is the immediate thing or immediate factor that crosses your mind? Maybe pornography, maybe movies, right? It's all haram entertainment. But at the same time, just as these are all haram and inappropriate, there's a separate set of contents as well, which we think is very light-hearted, but in reality, they are also haram. How many of you follow gossip channels, gossips about celebrities? Of course, I'm not going to see any hands going up. But yes, we all, like we may think that it's okay to follow the celebrity gossip channels because it's just learning about them, but it is a gossip. At the end of the day, there is no difference between your real world gossip and online gossip. So people who entertain pornography or movies or maybe K-dramas, whatever you name it, and even music. Now, music, I will touch upon it very separately because it's something that is to be discussed in a deeper way. So all these haram entertainment people, like all these people who use social media for haram entertainment, that category of people, as much as they use social media for haram entertainment, they are also spreading haram on social media. So now I have touched upon two categories in depth, not very much in depth because we have more to discuss further, but purpose and haram entertainment. Is that clear with all of you? Which category do you belong to? You can reflect from these three reasons, or these three, what do you call, reasons for which people use social media. These are the only three reasons that people can use social media for, not for any other reasons. Either purpose, haram entertainment, or halal entertainment. Is that clear with all of you? Now, with that, let's move forward. Now, we have understood that social media is the current society that we are a part of, right? So, as much as social media is your current society, then who are you in the society? What is your role as a person in the society? Now, this is something that we have to ponder on. Imagine for an instant that a friend of yours is sending you a particular reel, and you try to access this reel, but unfortunately, you do not have access because you're not a user of TikTok. Now, in this case, what happens? You will intend to create a TikTok account because you want to watch the reel, right? So, what are the two most important credentials to open a TikTok account? What are the two most important requirements to open a TikTok account? Anyone who is a TikTok user here? Can you all unmute and speak? I encourage everyone to unmute and speak. Email and password. Yes, okay. Email and password, but at the same time, it's the username, right? Yes, as much as, yes, I know, I understand email is important, but the most important, like what is on display, it is your username, right? For you to have an account on any platform, you need to give a username and you need to have a password, right? Can we move on to the next slide, please? So now think of you opening an account. So when you give a username to your account, what is it? What do you think it is? Your account is not just a mere account. If you think your account is just an account that is existing in social media, you shall be wrong. Because your social media is your brand. Think of your social media, think of your social media account as a brand. Now imagine a brand like Apple. For an example, a brand will always not reflect its owner's name. Similarly, when you open an account, you may give a username that reflects your name or some other name. Like there are people who are as funky flowers or butterflies on social media, right? So it might, now, as much as it doesn't reflect you, but it doesn't remove the fact, or it doesn't, neglect the fact that you are the owner of that particular account, right? Now, Apple, the owner of Apple would be having some other name. I do not know his name. So if anybody knows, please educate me on that in the chat box. So in that case, regardless of what you post, the reason why I'm saying this is people who run anonymous accounts on social media tend to think that they are anonymous from the people out there in the social media. But in reality, you cannot be anonymous from Allah. Can we be anonymous from Allah? Right? So whatever you post, every post of yours, every share of yours, every every like of yours, it's all going to count at the end of the day. Okay, so always remember, the moment you open an account on social media, it is your personal branding. It is nothing different from a personal branding. So now let's move forward and understand. Okay, thank you so much, Steve Hobbs. Okay, thank you. Right. Now, yes. So the moment you open an account, the moment you have a brand, what comes with a brand? A brand has its reputation. A brand has certain set of responsibilities. The brand has to take accountability. The brand will have a rule book, the record book, and the brand will have its consumers. Now, who are your consumers on social media? Talk in the social media language. Who are your consumers? Anybody?
Subscribers?
Yes, the subscribers, the followers, they are your social media consumers. So regardless of the fact that whether you have 5 followers, 10 followers, 15, 100, it doesn't matter. You still have a set of consumers who are looking forward to interact with you. So you have a set of responsibilities towards these consumers. Now, when you think about a brand, okay, initially, the moment you have a username on your brand, it is creating your identity. So your identity is going to be created. Your identity is going to reflect who you are as a person. And it is what you make on social media. As I said before, what you share, how you comment, who you follow, all of it creates your online persona. Okay, so and just like a brand cannot escape its reputation, we as social media users, we cannot escape our reputation either. Okay, so with that, as much as we spoke about the reputation, with reputation comes what? Accountability. Imagine a brand that launches a terrible product. Now, think of Apple as an example. Think of Apple launching a product that may give you a skin disease. Okay, and also at the same time, the customers will complain. You will get bad reviews, and the brand has to deal with all the backlash. Okay, now think of your posts and shares as products. Okay, now this is not about how the customers are going to react. This is about your accountability. You are going to be liable at the end of the day to every single thing that you post on social media. As much as a brand will be held liable by the judiciary, we as social media users, we are going to be held liable by whom? By Allah as well. So that fact you have to always keep in mind. Doesn't matter whether you're an anonymous person, doesn't matter whether people know you or not, doesn't matter whether it's just a matter of 5 followers, 10 followers, or 15, you shall still be held liable by Allah Azza for every deed that you do on social media. Okay? So now, something more that we have to consider in here is that people with less follower counts, right? They have this duped notion that maybe, like for an example, let's say that they share something that is bad and they think that it is just going to stay within his or her circle. For an example, something negative. You share something inappropriate and you think, okay, it's not going to harm a huge crowd. It's just my set of people who are going to watch this. But your set of consumers are also brand owners, right? And they will have their set of consumers as well. And people are very good at mimicking our behaviors. Now think of celebrities. Have you all ever noticed how fast a trend gets? What do you say? You have these things, right? What is the trending language called? I'm not getting it at the point. But the moment a celebrity starts a trend, it spreads all over. Every single person is following it. So similarly, when you do something on social media, at least one of the 5 followers are looking up to you and wishing or trying to do what you're doing or trying to mimic your activities. And for an example, let's say that you're posting something that contains music. And maybe one of your followers may think that, okay, listening to music is fine. And they might start, go viral. Yes, thank you so much. So they might start mimicking what you do. They might also start posting music because they think, okay, person whom I'm following is normalizing this, so let me also normalize. So these are things that we have to be very mindful about. All right. And Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has stated, whoever starts a good tradition will have a reward for it and a reward for those who act upon it. And whoever starts a bad tradition will bear its burden and the burden of those who act upon it. So think of yourself. Think of the times that you have shared something that is inappropriate. Now, I'm not going to feed you with all the information. You reflect on your actions. What are those activities that you have involved in which may have encouraged another person to enjoy bad in life? Okay? Yes. And as I mentioned before, record book. We all have a record book, right? Now, who is the recorder of our deeds? The angels are recording every activity of ours. Okay? Can you repeat the hadith? Yes, all right. Let me repeat it. So, Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has said, whoever starts a good tradition will have a reward for it and a reward for those who act upon it. And on the flip side, whoever starts a bad tradition will bear its burden and the burden of those who act upon it, as recorded in Sahih Muslim. All right, if that answered your question. So now the record book, just like how a brand keeps records of its transactions and interactions, your social media accounts are also being documented. You may post something and think, okay, it's just going to stay there for 24 hours and it will disappear. Even if it disappears, it is recorded in your record book, and you shall be held liable on the day of judgment for it. Right? And there are people who think, okay, let it be there for 2 to 3 weeks maybe, and I will delete it later. Now, there's a set of target audience that people target when they post something. So until the target audience watch that particular post of yours, you keep it. And once they have viewed it, you remove it. So if you have not deleted for the sake of Allah, and if you have not repented for it, then in that case, yes, it's going to be recorded in your record books. Okay? So these are the set of features that come with a brand. So the moment you have opened a social media account, you're signing up for all these features. Isn't it the case? Have you ever thought about your social media as a brand so far? Have you ever considered it as a brand so far? So moving forward, now whatever I'm talking about, please reflect on those deeply, because I'm sure like with one session, people are not going to change overnight. But every time now the reason why I'm relating these to practical elements is because every time you tend to do what I'm referring to, think about it, ponder over it. What are you doing and why are you doing it? The purpose behind it. Whatever you learned from today's session, apply it in every post of yours. Apply it in every comment of yours, inshallah. Okay? Now, your brand, you will be the seller of your brand, right? And you will have a set of consumers. And what does that make? The moment the seller meets the consumer, it forms a community. Imagine of yourself interacting with 5 people in a society. Doesn't it form a community? It forms a community. So your social media account, which includes your followers and yourself, is a community. Okay? So the moment that you have created this community, what comes with the community? You have a set of responsibilities. And to uphold the set of responsibilities that you have as a person, you need to have a rule book for yourself. And that is where we introduce a Muslima's rule book to you. So this rule book comes with 3 R's: remove, replace, and restart. What does it resonate to you? before we start to do anything good out of our social media accounts, now we have understood the importance of using social media responsibly because it is your brand, right? It is your brand. Yes, thank you so much for all the responses in the chat box. So, yes, it is your brand, right? And in your brand, what happens is when you are maintaining a brand, you have to uphold the goodwill of the brand. Okay? So, to uphold the goodwill for the sake of Allah, there are certain things that we have to enjoin and there are certain things that we have to forbid, right? So, however, before we try to use social media for the good, it's important that we cleanse our social media accounts. You have to clean your profiles from all the filth that it contains. For an example, let's say that you want to decorate your room. You cannot decorate your room without clearing the mess it contains. Without removing the mess, you cannot decorate. So, similarly, if you want to do something good out of social media, if you want to use social media with a purpose, you will have to remove whatever that or whatever inappropriate your socials may contain at this point. And I'm assuming that you all have all logged in. If you have not logged in so far, please log into your socials. So now let's focus on the factors that we have to remove ourselves from. Can we move on to the next slide? Okay. Inappropriate content. As I mentioned before, pornography, music, or anything inappropriate on your social media page, because we all have a feed, right? You call it social media feed. So on this feed, just like how you as a brand owner create products for the consumers, every other person is creating products. Okay, and not every product is a good product. So first of all, you have to make sure that all the faulty products on your socials are removed before you start focusing on the good products. Okay, so which is why we have this removal, social media cleansing as an option, as the first option. Okay, because Prophet ﷺ has said, young people who grew up obeying Allah and following His orders would be among 7 categories of people who would be provided shade on the day of judgment. And this particular hadith, I'm directing it towards the youngsters of today's webinar because it's very important to understand the importance of using social media responsibly at a young age itself. Because this is the age where we are open for distractions. All right. So now in here, if you look at the screen, inappropriate content, music, opposite gender interaction, filthy language, and anything that makes you feel less. Now, about music and opposite gender interaction, I will come at it during the latter part of the presentation. Now, look at filthy language. I don't have to name them, you know it as a social media user. Nowadays, we have the very common use of F and B words. And there's a set of people who use these words in a very different way. They go for this hashtag, the first letter of the word, star, star, star. Or if else, hashtag, star, 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 the last letter of the word. Do you think that people are still unable to read it? Just because you include the stars doesn't mean that you have not written the name. And the moment you have written such filthy languages, filthy words on social media, you're exposing other people as well to this filth, right? The fact that you have to include stars itself resonates that how filthy that word is, because you're not comfortable using the whole word in public. The entire word, you're not comfortable using it, but still you go forward and you go ahead and use it because you want to fit into the circle or whatever, the so-called cool culture, right? So please refrain yourself from using filthy language on social media. And the third is anything that makes you feel less. Now, think of the times where you have looked at someone's profile and thought to yourself that I'm not blessed as this person. You may see people going on tours. You may see people posting their food. You may see people being blessed in different ways, different achievements. Right? People are always sharing the highlights of their life on social media. So in that case, it makes us feel that we are less. But if there are any such people that make you feel less, I kindly advise you to mute those profiles. It could be your friends. Now, in those instances, you cannot unfollow. Now, you're not unfollowing because of the reason that they are doing something bad, but because of the fact that you're going to, like, they are making you feel less about yourself and they're not doing it intentionally. And because you have signed up for it, therefore, you can take a step forward and you can mute their profiles. If you're someone who is making, if you're someone who is feeling less about someone's achievements, take a step back, mute their profiles, and you reflect on your achievements, you reflect on what you have been doing in your life so far. Inshallah, that will make you realize the blessings that you contain as a person. And look at the people who have less than you, so that it makes you realize how much blessed you are. Inshallah. Okay? So, yes, now we have identified the problems, right? Now we have inappropriate content, music, opposite gender interaction, filthy language, and anything that makes us feel less on social media. So, how do we deal with it? How do we remove them from our profiles? That is what we are going to discuss now. So, you have these options. On any social media account, you have these options, right? You all may have come across. You can unfollow, you can block, you can report, you can mute, you can filter your language preferences. The technology is so advanced that they have introduced all these features for you, right? So if you will, if there's a will, there's a way, people say, right? So if you will to keep yourself away from haram, you can definitely do it. Content settings, right? And also you have the option of deleting. Now delete, I will tell you later where this stands for. So before that, I want to talk a bit about this opposite gender interaction. Okay, so with the wide use of social media, definitely the opposite gender interaction has also increased. Now, for an example, when a man or a woman who is not your non-mahram starts following you, you follow them back. That has become a social media culture. Even if there is no purpose. Now, there are people who follow people who non-mahrams who may share insightful contents. I'm not talking about that category. I'm talking about people who follow these modeling profiles. Now, there are men who just take pictures of their faces in different angles and they start posting. And women also the same. So you don't follow these accounts with a purpose. So Allah Azza wa Jal has clearly said in the Quran that men and women both have to lower their gazes. But instead, what are we doing on social media? Just because everything is normalized doesn't make it right. Am I correct? Because now when you talk about like interacting with the opposite gender, the DMs, someone comments on your post and you comment back, right, without any purpose. Now, zina, Allah has spoken about zina in a very broader perspective. Yeah, Allah says in the Quran, and do not go anywhere near adultery. Don't commit zina and don't even go to that path. Do not go anywhere near adultery. That's what the Quran ayah says. Do you notice how it just doesn't say don't commit zina, but don't even go near it? Meaning we should avoid anything that may lead us to zina. Every day on your feed, if someone's picture is going to pop up, you may not lower your gaze, right? So the reason I'm emphasizing this is because it has become normalized in today's world. Commenting, liking, and interacting with the opposite genders profiles is something that is so normal. So now I can also understand that you could be having colleagues, right? So as much as we talk about problems, we have to also talk about solutions, right? So let's think about it in this way. You may have friends from your universities whom you may be already be like whom you may be already following on social media, or maybe colleagues from your office. Now, in that case, if you suddenly block them, it's going to create some kind of negative energy between the two of you. So to avoid this, mute their accounts. When you mute accounts, none of their posts or stories show up in your profiles. So that way, you're away from these unharmful, harmful gazes. Okay, you do not look at any like that refrains you from looking at any other opposite gender. So if you have any such people who are maybe maintaining modeling profiles, in that case, please mute them so that you're free from this sin, inshallah. Now, yes, that was one part of opposite gender interaction. And then talking of music. Now, music is something that is being shared everywhere, on every post, on every story. Okay, to the extent that everyone's life is like a musical theater the moment you step into social media. You see music everywhere and anywhere. All right. So, music, is it something that is halal in Islam? It's not, it's clearly forbidden. Music is something that has been clearly forbidden in Islam. Give me a minute. But however, people find it a bit difficult to remove themselves from music is clearly something that is haram. Now, the downside of music is imagine you're scrolling through Instagram and a story catches your eye. Okay. And there's a catchy tune that is playing in the background. And before you know it, it's stuck in your head all day. So you might think that it's harmless, but that music is subtly affecting your mood, your thoughts, and most importantly, distracting you from your dhikr. And in fact, music is also considered as very harmful in the view of psychology as well, because music takes away your power of thinking logically. How many of you have caught yourselves in moments where, like, you may be listening to a sad song and then you're suddenly sad without a reason? And you may be listening to a happy song and you're happy without a reason. So, music takes away your logical power of thinking. Just try this for maybe 2 or 3 days. Quit music completely out of your life and see how it changes your way of thinking. Now, what happens in your lives is that we go from one music to another, one music to another, one music to another. Now, this music, these songs also have very filthy language. If you hear closely, if you take a closer look at these lyrics of these songs, it is full and full of vulgar, inappropriate content, violence. So, this is distracting the humankind, and in the longer run, it would affect the life in such a way that we may never thought a life would change like. So Allah has made music haram for a reason, because it could be very addictive to you, and you may have found yourselves in several places where you're listening to a particular song repeatedly and it's taking away your time, right? So which is why it's very important that us as responsible social media users to stay away from music. So now that you have removed yourself from all this haram, like I've given you the tips and tactics to remove yourself from anything that is going to distract you from doing something good. You have the option of muting, you have the option of unfollowing, you have the option of what do you call reporting any inappropriate content. Reporting not just helps you, but also the people who follow you. Because when you report a content, it will be hidden from the people who follow you as well. Okay. So now the second R is replacement. So one thing that we have to keep in mind is, in every time that we remove ourselves from something that is harmful, it's important that we find a healthy alternative for it. Now, for an example, let's say that you remove yourself from music. All right. So, when you remove yourself from music, you need to find a healthy alternative, such as nasheed channels, nasheeds, because that creates a void in your life. Now, let's say that you're someone who listens to music from morning 8 to 9 a.m. for 1 hour. In that case, if you're removing music from your life, for that 1 hour, you will need an alternative healthy replacement. If you don't find it, you will fall back to the same sin, which is why we need healthy alternatives for any habit that we give up on. Now, these are the alternatives that you can think about. Instead of following movie pages that promote movies, like movie teasers, you can start following Islamic pages. Instead of following influencers, or we have influencers who are fitness influencers who are always half naked. So instead of following them, you can follow scholars. All right. And you can follow beneficial hashtags, because we have to talk about our social media algorithm. Have you ever heard of social media algorithm? Try searching a particular word on your social media search bar, and for the next few hours, you will find similar content showing up on your feed, which is why it's very important for us to follow hashtags and accounts that promote goodness. So when you do that, your social media algorithm gets set up in a way your social media algorithm gets set up in a way that promotes goodness. So you can choose to follow maybe scholars, people who help you in skill development, people who are lecturers, who are motivational speakers, and poets. They all help us in some way or the other, right? So this is the replacement. You have to find your own replacements. What you think will fit most for that void that you create in your life. The void is anything bad that you may have been committing yourself to in the past couple of days. If you're removing it from your habit, you may replace it with something good. And always remember, when you give up on something for the sake of Allah, Allah multiplies your blessings in whatever that you replace it with, inshallah. All right. Okay, with that, we move forward to the next slide. Now, what have we done on our socials? We have removed harmful content, we have replaced it with good content, and the final is restart. Now, we have cleansed our profiles in a way that it shows us only good things. Now, if you get into your feed after doing all this, after following all these steps, if you get into your feed, you will only get to see things that are good, right? So, how do you restart? Next is going to be the step on how you restart. So, restart is all about your social media engagement, what you share and what you follow. Because what you share is how you give back to the community, and what you follow is how you gain from the community. Okay, so there are different ways in which we can enjoy enjoy goodness on social media. So how do you restart your page? Now, moving forward to the next slide, we speak about in which ways we can choose to do good and gain good on social media. Now, if you look at social media, there are so many channels that are education oriented. So there are so many channels that helps you improve your skills. And also there are business persons who generate revenue through social media, YouTubers. They post Islamic videos, they post Islamic lectures. So these are ways in which we can learn something good and give back something good. Imagine of yourself writing something positive on your social media account. Imagine how many people could get benefited from it. Let's say that you're posting an uplifting quote. If you're posting an uplifting quote, what happens is, let's say somebody who is feeling very low in their day and they get to interact with the quote that you have shared. In that case, they get benefited through your quote. You're doing something good. You're doing a charity at that point. We all love to do charity in some way or the other. And in this way, we can, like, we are Muslims and we can do better on social media. I mean, rather than just posting things that may not benefit anybody else. I'm not saying that having fun is not allowed in Islam. Having fun is allowed as long as it is within the context of Islam. But at the same time, with the time that is given to you, I think we can choose to do something better as well. Okay, so these are ways in which you can choose to do good and gain good from your socials. So from today onwards, every time you use social media, ponder, reflect on yourself whether it's going to give me something good or whether I am giving something good to the people who are following me, to the consumers that I have. Because I've created a community and I have a responsibility towards this community. So every time you do good, now think of the examples that I brought to you in the beginning of the presentation. The people who mimic your behavior. Imagine that people who mimic the goodness that you do, they will also be encouraging a different set of people to be doing good because they have mimicked your behavior, and the people who follow them will also be mimicking their behavior. So this way it's going to flow to a huge set of audience that you never thought would reach, right? And this is all going to add to your good deeds, inshallah, and Allah Azza wa Jal is watching every deed of ours. Okay, so now moving forward, social media and Sadaqah Jariyah. We all know what is Sadaqah Jariyah, right? How many of you know what is Sadaqah Jariyah? Sadaqah Jariyah is our ongoing deeds. Now, on social media, this is a very beautiful aspect, and it could also be a bit scary based on how you choose to use social media. Imagine someone who has quit listening to music, and suddenly you post a music on your story or on your channel, and then that person gets exposed to the music that you have shared, and what happens? They continue with that habit of theirs. Social media is not something that dies with us, right? Think of a brand. A brand doesn't die with us, right? It has its continuity. It continues even after the death of the owner, of the CEO. So similarly, our socials will also be there until like even after our death. Now, there are so many stories. Like there was this one incident last year. I remember where a teen boy who had uploaded a story just 10 minutes before a car crash. And that story was where he was singing a song which contained so much of filthy lyrics. Imagine his death. We never know when death is going to hit us, right? You may think that you will delete it later. But who knows? Tomorrow is never promised for us. So always be mindful of what you share. The same post, now imagine you, instead of sharing music, you share the Quran recitation. In that case, that is going to add points for you even after your death because it's an ongoing charity. If for every time people read or recite the Quranic words that you have shared on your pages, you're going to get rewarded. You would be amazed to see how your good deeds go up in your grave for what you have shared on social media, inshallah. And I pray that we all become people who do good things and get benefited from it for our akhirah, inshallah. Now, this is the category where I spoke about in the initial part of the presentation, the halal entertainment versus time management. So far we have learned about how social media is our current society. And then we discussed how our accounts act as our personal branding. And then we went on to discuss the rule book that we need to maintain when we are using social media. Unfortunately, I could not touch upon the technical aspect of it on how to set your social media in a way that shows you good content and preferences. If I have time towards the end, inshallah, I would touch upon it. But however, we spoke about the 3 R's. What are the 3 R's you remember? So we have the removal, replacement, and restart. Okay. So we touched upon all those three, like how we should remove or cleanse our profiles before we start doing anything good, and how to replace it with good habits, and how to then go a step forward to give back and gain from the community that we are a part of. Okay. And also we spoke about how social media could end up as a Sadaqah Jariyah for all of us, inshallah. And now the Halal entertainment crew. How many of y'all think that y'all use social media for halal entertainment? There are also people who watch Islamic videos from morning to evening. So now the problem with halal entertainment is, okay, I used to watch those Islamic converter stories. Yes, exactly. We all watch Islamic videos. So do I, right? But the problem in here is that halal entertainment versus time management. Now there are some people who watch videos, random videos. Maybe it's a travel blog or maybe it's cooking videos. You may never cook, but still you continue watching cooking videos, right? So from morning to evening, we do nothing bad. You're not doing anything bad and you're not giving back anything bad either. But what to think here is about your time. Now imagine that you're in an examination. You're given a paper, right? When you're given a paper for 2 hours, what do you choose to do? Will you just write jokes and memes on your paper, or instead will you write things that can get you marks or grades towards the end? We will only write that which is beneficial, right? We will only write those things that will help us get rewards. That will help us get marks in the examination. So similarly, social media, you have two options. You can either choose to use social media for halal entertainment, but at the cost of what? At the cost of your time. And time is one of the most important treasures that Allah has given us. And to use time wisely, it's our responsibility. There are some people who, yes, as I mentioned before, they entertain themselves with halal entertainment from morning to evening. But when you do that, think of the times that you have neglected your responsibility as a daughter, as a sister, as a friend, or maybe as a student. The time where you could have been productive, the time which you could have invested for something that is good or for your responsibilities, instead you're doing it instead of using it or instead of utilizing it for good reasons, you're doing something that doesn't bring you benefit in any way. Even though these are neutral acts, when you choose to do something good out of the time you have, the more you take time away from your schedule, you're going to suffer. So, which is why we have to very carefully manage our time with halal entertainment. Like, for an example, let's say that you want to watch a particular video, right, which makes you feel good. Then maybe you can have set a limit. Like, I'm going to watch only 2 videos. Beyond that, no. Even if it is Islamic videos, don't go beyond 2 videos. Fulfill all your responsibilities for the day. And if you have time left, if you have some free time left, I don't think we as Muslims can think of free time because life in this world is so short, right? But however, if you want to entertain yourself with some fun, then do it for a limited period of time. Can we move on to the next slide? There were a few tips, I suppose. Yeah. So how can you limit your time on social media? Self-check. Now there is, I don't know the setting for this, but those who are very familiar with social media settings, you all will know that there's a particular option where you can check your activity, right? So in there, you can check for how long you have been using social media, your activity check, right? So if you reflect on your activity check, you will know how much time from your life you're giving for social media per day, per week, and per month. Therefore, set limitations, as I said before, and take regular breaks. If you're watching a video, please remind yourself now, let's say that it's a 1 hour video from 15 minutes to 15 minutes to the next 15 minutes, take a break. Take a break so that you realize that there is so much that is happening outside that device. All right. And especially say no to bedtime social media. Have you heard of doom scrolling? Now, there are doom scrollers from one reel to the next, from one reel to the next. Now, the reel culture was something that was introduced in TikTok, if I'm not mistaken. And social media, Instagram copied it, And YouTube had to find its own way of retaining its subscribers. So they came up with shorts. Okay, yes, digital well-being and parenting controls. Yeah, please take note from the chats as well. People are commenting useful ways of, staying away from, limiting our time on social media. So yeah, taking regular breaks and saying no to bedtime social media. Now, this is something that most of the people do. Scrolling through socials in bedtime. Now, before you go to bed, now there are people who constantly scroll until they fall asleep on the phone itself. So when you do it, I'm not going to tell you how it made you feel, but you know it to yourself how you felt while you were scrolling through, right? Did you have a good quality sleep? Were you able to wake up for Fajr? Were you able to wake up for Tahajjud? Did your finger always go to snooze that alarm when it hit at 4 a.m. for Tahajjud? Because you did not have quality sleep. So all of these factors are affecting your spiritual growth as well, which is why it's always important to put your phone aside when you go to bed. If you have a table or if you have some other space that is a bit distant from your bed, please leave your phone there and set the alarm. Because when you wake up for tahajjud, when the alarm hits for tahajjud, you will have to force yourself to wake up, step out of the bed, go to the table, and then snooze it. So, yes, now then comes the technical settings, as I said. You all know better in terms of how to fix your social media, what do you call the timeline. Now, there are what do you call sleep mode. They have now introduced sleep mode on social media, where when it hits you can you can choose the time as well. If you want the sleep mode to get activated at 9 p.m., yes, it gets activated at 9 p.m. The social media shuts down and you won't have access, right? And yes, you have all those options. Now we are kind of running out of time, so we'll quickly get into this activity, the mood shift time. This is a small activity. I'll just tell you all what you all have to do. You all may do it right after the session as well, no worries. uh, Today, okay, you could be someone who is using social media just for entertainment, as I said before. You could be someone who uses social media for business reasons. Maybe you're a small scale business owner. So, whoever you may be, today take a chance to post something positive on your social media. Something positive. Maybe a positive quote, maybe a Quran recitation. Take it as a challenge. Now, we have 74 people here, 74 people who have joined. So, take it as a challenge. And please, now this is a request. I'm putting it forward as a request. Maybe it could become a Sadaqah Jariyah for you in your hereafter. It's a matter of few seconds. You take a post, you write a quote, and post it. Okay? Or maybe something that could inspire another person. Or tips on skill development. Even those skill development. Or maybe you could be an artist, right? So you could encourage, or you could enlighten other people on different tips or techniques of doing art. So anything that is positive that could help someone to gain something of your post, please post that. We'll all do it today, inshallah, right after this session. Drop a thumbs up. I know we don't have time. Okay, so now this is the final slide that we have. Okay, so here we have the do's and the don'ts of social media, which is going to wind up everything that we have discussed so far. So this is like giving you all a heads up on whatever that we have been discussing all this while. Don'ts, publicizing sins. As I mentioned before, you post music. When you post music, you're publicizing your sins and you're encouraging other people to sin, right? Now, private sins, we can repent and we can seek Allah's forgiveness, but public sins, it's very scary, right? So please stay away from publicizing your sins and repent for whatever that you may have posted so far. And definitely always believe that when you replace a habit, Allah is going to bless you in ways that you never thought is possible. Allah is going to open the doors of barakah in your life when you give up something for the sake of Allah, right? Okay. And then we have pornography, friendship with opposite gender, displaying your beauty, foul language, backbiting, online trolling, spreading misinformation, wrong judgments, online harassment. Okay, status. Thank you so much. WhatsApp status update. And we have the do's of lowering the gaze, concealing the sins, sharing positivity, sharing beneficial knowledge, check for authenticity. And this is something that I forgot to touch upon. I'll take a quick minute, okay? Now, with the widespread of social media, there is so much of news that is surrounding social media, right? People tend to share different things, but we have this habit of resharing posts and stories without even verifying them. And trust me, there is this culture where we go for this hashtag sharing as received. Just because you hashtag and write sharing as received, that doesn't negate the fact, that doesn't negate your responsibility, right? So for whatever you share, you have to take responsibility. Therefore, be very mindful of posting anything that comes your way. Because as Muslimas, we have a responsibility to uphold truthfulness. Truthfulness paves the way for righteousness. There's a hadith where Prophet ﷺ said that truthfulness paves the way for righteousness, and righteousness like paves the way for inshallah paradise, Jannah, Jannatul Firdaus. So please be mindful of what you post, and please be mindful of what you post online and take responsibility. Always remember that you will be held liable and you should be accountable for everything and anything that you feed your consumers with. So these are the things that we have to focus on, and respecting others' privacy, upholding honesty, say no to opposite gender DMs. When you never unfollow a non-mahram, they have no access to your DMs in any way possible. And always be mindful of your interaction. If there is no purpose for you to talk, then never accept any request. Hi, hello, bye, not needed. And use respectful language. Yes, that winds up everything that we have discussed so far. I truly hope that this session was a bit beneficial for you all. Okay, and with that, before I wind up the session, mm, yes, you can contact Book on different platforms. So we have shared the contact details here. You all can take a screenshot. Email is info@ilmbook.com. Website is ilmbook.com. WhatsApp, the number is given there. And YouTube at Ilmbook, Facebook Ilmbook, Instagram ilm.book. And yes, that brings the session to an end. And yes, if y'all have any questions, y'all may drop it in the chat box. Yes, definitely. Jazakallah khair. Uh, Jazakallah and Jazakallah khair everyone for joining. And I truly pray and hope that y'all benefited from this session. And I truly hope that y'all incorporate whatever y'all learned in this session in your daily life and think of social media as a personal branding and be very mindful of your usage on social media, because the same social media could be a source of benefit or a source of downgrade for you in the hereafter. So choose to
Ex-
use yes, wisely. Yeah, and
Yes, Tuba sister, sorry for interrupting.
yes,
One more
definitely.
thing for all the audience who has joined today. We would like to hear your feedbacks. Please, it will be more grateful if you all can send your feedback to the WhatsApp number that is provided in the screen, inshallah. So we can tailor our future sessions depending on your feedbacks, inshallah. If you all have any suggestions, suggested topics also you all can send. Also your questions also can be sent to the number. Definitely we will be answering those, inshallah. So jazakallah khair. Yes, sister.
Okay, Jazakallah khair, Sister Aska. With that, we would be winding up the session. Jazakallah khair. May Allah bless all of us and make us all uh, dwellers of Jannatul Firdaus. All right. Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Hope you have a good day.